I want to be honest with you about something before we start. Most weekly routine videos from doctors and health creators are performances. They are curated highlights of idealized behavior designed to make the person on screen look disciplined, impressive, and slightly superhuman. And they leave most viewers feeling vaguely inadequate rather than genuinely informed. This is not that video. What I am going to share with you is my actual weekly routine. The real one, including the things I do imperfectly, including the weeks where it falls apart and what I do to recover it, including the reasoning behind every single choice, because a routine without reasoning is just a list of habits you will abandon within 2 weeks. Because here's what 13 years in emergency medicine has taught me about behavior change. People do not fail to build healthy routines because they lack willpower. They fail because nobody ever explained the biological rationale clearly enough to make the habit feel worth protecting. When you understand exactly what a habit is doing for you at a physiological level, when you can feel the mechanism, not just the instruction, you stop treating it as optional. So that is what I'm going to give you today. Not a perfect routine to copy, a reasoned routine to understand. And from that understanding, build something sustainable that actually belongs to your life. My name is Dr. Miles, 13 years in emergency medicine. Let's get into it. Before we do, one quick thing. If this channel is going to keep reaching people who genuinely need this kind of information, I need your help. Hit subscribe right now. It takes 1 second, and it means you will not miss what is coming next. And if you stay until the end of this video, I'm going to share the one thing I have added to my routine in the last year that has made the single biggest difference to my energy and cognitive function. I did not expect it to work as well as it did. Stay for that. Subscribe now. Let's go. Monday, the reset day. I treat Monday not as the start of a grind, but as a deliberate biological reset after the weekend. And the reason this framing matters is that weekends, for most people, including me, involve some disruption to the patterns that keep your body functioning optimally. Later sleep times, different eating windows, maybe alcohol on a Friday or Saturday night. None of that is catastrophic, but Monday is where you consciously re-anchor. The first thing I do every Monday morning and every morning of the week is drink 500 milliliters of water with a small pinch of sea salt before anything else. Before coffee, before my phone, before food. Your body has been without fluid for 7 to 8 hours. Your blood is more concentrated. Your kidneys are already working harder than they need to. And your brain, which is approximately 75% water, is operating below its optimal capacity before you have done anything at all. Rehydrating first is not a wellness trend. It is basic physiology. Monday is also my first resistance training session of the week. I train in the morning when I can, not because morning training is dramatically superior to evening training in the research, but because if I do not do it first, 13 years of experience tells me that something else will fill that time. The training itself is not complicated. Compound movements, squats, deadlifts, pressing, pulling, 45 minutes, such an intensity that I could not comfortably hold a full conversation. The reason I treat resistance training as non-negotiable is the same reason I mention it to patients who would rather not hear it. Muscle mass is one of the strongest independent predictors of longevity and functional independence that we have in medicine. You begin losing it meaningfully after 30. The loss accelerates through your 40s and 50s. And by the time people reach their 70s and 80s, low muscle mass is directly associated with mortality, falls, fractures, and loss of independence. 2 sessions of resistance training per week does not give you an athletic physique. It gives you a body that functions and recovers well into old age. That is what I'm training for. Tuesday, the recovery and input day. I do not train on Tuesdays. Recovery is not laziness. It is where adaptation happens. When you train, you create controlled damage to muscle tissue. The repair process, driven by sleep and adequate protein, is what makes you stronger. Training again before that process is complete does not accelerate progress. It interrupts it. Tuesday is where I focus on what I call input habits. The morning light exposure that I do every single day, ideally within 30 minutes of waking, gets natural sunlight directly into my eyes for at least 10 minutes. This is not about vitamin D. This is about anchoring my circadian rhythm. The light signals my brain's master clock, setting off a cascade that regulates my cortisol awakening response, my alertness throughout the day, and critically, my melatonin release that night. What I do on Tuesday morning is directly programming the quality of my Tuesday night sleep. Tuesday is also when I am most deliberate about my protein intake. I aim for a minimum of 30 grams of protein at breakfast. 3 eggs, Greek yogurt, smoked salmon, in some combination. The reason breakfast protein matters specifically is that sleep is a catabolic state. Your body breaks down muscle tissue overnight to fuel repair processes. When you wake up, your muscles are primed to rebuild, and they are more responsive to amino acids earlier in the day than later. Skipping protein at breakfast is not intermittent fasting for most people. It is simply leaving muscle on the table. Wednesday, midweek anchor. Wednesday is my second resistance training session of the week. Same principle, different muscle emphasis. And by midweek, I am also paying close attention to something most people never monitor, my eating window. I try to finish eating by 7 or 8 in the evening every day. Not because I am rigidly restricting calories, because I understand what late night eating asks my metabolic organs to do. Your liver, your pancreas, your gut, they all operate on circadian rhythms. During the day, they are primed for nutrient processing. At night, they are designed to shift into repair and regeneration. When you eat at 10 or 11 in the evening, you are forcing metabolic activity at a time when your body's enzymatic machinery is winding down. The result is that those late calories are more likely to be converted to fat, particularly in the liver, rather than properly processed and utilized. Research consistently shows that people eating the same total daily calories but finishing earlier in the day have less liver fat, better insulin sensitivity, and better metabolic markers overall. Wednesday is midweek. It is easy for the eating window to drift later as the week builds in intensity. I pay attention to it. Wednesday evening, I also take my magnesium glycinate, 300 to 400 milligrams before bed. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic processes in your body, including sleep regulation, muscle function, and blood pressure control. The majority of people in the modern world are not getting sufficient magnesium from their diet because of soil depletion in modern agriculture. Magnesium glycinate, specifically, not magnesium oxide, which is poorly absorbed, has a consistent and noticeable effect on sleep depth within 1 to 2 weeks of starting. And given that sleep quality is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term health outcomes that exists in medicine, this is not optional for me. Thursday, the long walk day. I do not do intense training on Thursdays. I walk. Specifically, I aim for 30 to 45 minutes at a pace that elevates my heart rate moderately. This is not a compromise. It is a deliberate choice grounded in the research on non-exercise physical activity and cardiovascular health. A growing body of evidence now shows that prolonged sitting is an independent cardiovascular risk factor. Independent means it causes damage, regardless of whether you exercise. You can train 3 times per week and still be at elevated risk if the remaining hours are largely sedentary. The mechanism involves your vascular endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, which needs the mechanical stimulus of blood flow to maintain its function. Prolonged sitting reduces that stimulus. The endothelium stiffens. Blood pressure drifts upward. Inflammatory markers increase. Walking interrupts this. Not dramatically, but consistently. And cardiovascular health, cerebral blood flow, insulin sensitivity, mood regulation through serotonin and dopamine, all of these respond to moderate daily movement in ways that 3 sessions of intense weekly exercise cannot fully compensate for on their own. Thursday is also when I eat oily fish, salmon or mackerel, usually as part of dinner. I eat oily fish twice per week, Thursday and Sunday typically. The omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA have direct anti-inflammatory effects that operate at the cellular membrane level throughout your entire body. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the common thread running through cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and most cancers. Twice weekly oily fish is one of the most efficient dietary interventions for managing that inflammation without any supplementation required. Friday, the preparation day. Friday serves a function that most people's health routines completely ignore, which is preparation for the weekend. Because the weekend is where most people's health habits quietly collapse. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in the accumulated small decisions that feel harmless individually and destructive collectively. I do a light movement session on Friday. Mobility work, stretching, a short walk. nothing that creates significant recovery demand. I make sure the fridge has the things I need for the weekend. Eggs, Greek yogurt, vegetables, oily fish, nuts, seeds. Because what is convenient is what you eat. And if the convenient thing is ultra-processed food, that is what ends up happening 3 meals in a row on a Saturday. Friday is also where I am most intentional about alcohol. I am honest about the fact that I enjoy a drink socially, but the research on alcohol and health has shifted significantly in recent years. The idea that moderate drinking is cardiovascular protective has been substantially challenged by more rigorous studies. What is clear is that alcohol disrupts sleep architecture even in moderate amounts, suppressing the deep restorative stages your brain depends on for repair. It elevates inflammation. It impairs liver function. I contain my drinking to Friday and Saturday, and I do not drink during the week. That boundary is deliberate, and it is non-negotiable for me. Saturday and Sunday, the maintenance and recovery weekend. I do not train intensively on weekends. I stay active. Long walks, swimming occasionally, recreational movement that does not feel like exercise. This is deliberate. Recovery is part of the program, not a gap in it. Sunday is also my preparation day for the week ahead. I batch cook where I can. I make sure I have protein sources ready to go for Monday morning. I do a brief review of the week just passed, not a formal audit. Just a few minutes of honest reflection. Did I sleep well enough? Did I move enough? Did I eat in a way that I am proud of? What one thing would I do differently next week? This reflection habit sounds soft. It is not. Behavior change research consistently shows that people who monitor their habits, even loosely, maintain them significantly better than those who operate on autopilot. The review is not about guilt. It is about staying conscious of the choices that determine your health trajectory. And now, as I promised, the one thing I added to my routine in the last year that made the biggest unexpected difference. Consistent sleep and wake times, 7 days a week, including weekends. I know that sounds almost insultingly simple, but I want to tell you what changed when I stopped allowing my weekend sleep schedule to drift by, even 90 minutes later than my weekday schedule. The phenomenon is called social jet lag, and the research behind it is genuinely striking. When your sleep timing shifts between weekdays and weekends, even modestly, your circadian rhythm experiences something physiologically similar to crossing time zones. Your cortisol timing shifts, your melatonin release shifts, your metabolic hormone patterns shift, and the downstream effects on energy, mood, insulin sensitivity, and cognitive function are measurable and significant. When I locked my wake time to the same hour 7 days a week, my sleep quality improved more than any supplement or dietary change I had made. My energy in the first half of the day became more consistent. My afternoon crashes were reduced, and my Monday morning, which had always been the most depleted feeling day of my week, became significantly better. It costs nothing. It requires no equipment. It is simply the decision to treat your biology with the consistency it was designed to operate on. So here is the complete picture. Monday and Wednesday, resistance training. Every morning, hydration first, and morning light within 30 minutes of waking. Protein at breakfast daily. The eating window closed by early evening. Magnesium glycinate before bed. Thursday, long walk and oily fish. Friday, light movement and intentional preparation. Weekends, active recovery and weekly reflection. And consistent sleep and wake times every single day of the week. None of this is extreme. None of it requires expensive equipment or perfect conditions or unlimited time. It is a set of consistent biological signals sent repeatedly, week after week, telling your body to maintain itself, to stay functional, to resist the accumulation of damage that becomes disease. The compound effect of that consistency, not over days, but over years and decades, is what separates the patients I see arriving in crisis from the ones who never arrive at all. Build the routine, understand the reasoning, protect it like it matters, because it does. If this video gave you something genuinely useful, please subscribe. This channel exists to translate 13 years of real clinical experience into information that actually changes how people live. Hit subscribe. Share this with someone whose health you care about. Because the best routine is the one you actually keep, and you are more likely to keep the one you truly understand.